primal fear of the ocean is not just a sailor's nightmare, but also a doorway opening to horrifying stories I've heard directly from seasoned soldiers. Those who swear they saw something beneath the deep waters, something not of this world. It is the pitch black abyss where light is swallowed, where the sound of waves crashing is like the whisper of an ancient entity lurking, waiting for prey to fall into its desperate vortex. Or is it the terror of creatures hiding in the darkness? Sharp teeth, soulless eyes lurking beneath the surface, ready to drag anyone down to the bottomless depths without a trace. For many, sharks are the symbol of death beneath the ocean. But I have read reports from sailors aboard the USS Indianapolis where they spoke of something even more terrifying. A colossal dark shadow, not just hunting, but seemingly enjoying their fear. It wasn't a normal shark, sir, a sailor once tremblingly told me, his voice trailing off as he recalled. It looked at me, like it knew who I was. The desperation in his eyes sent shivers down my spine, because I knew sometimes horror comes not from nature, but from something supernatural. Great white sharks, tiger sharks, bull sharks, the infamous trio of predators, are always blamed. But the stories I collected from US Navy sailors tell of something else. A phantom from prehistoric times, far beyond any shark ever recorded. A perfect killing machine, not only massive, but also carrying an evil aura, as if born from a curse beneath the sea. An entity that not only devours flesh, but also consumes the souls of the unfortunate. Over the past century, whispers have spread through the maritime community. Half-true, half-mythical stories of a giant shark, a relic from ancient times, whose existence defies all scientific logic, much like reports of Bigfoot in the woods, or UFOs in the night sky. The deep ocean, never fully explored, is the perfect place to hide the most horrifying secrets. And I have spent years listening to sailors recount encounters with what they call Megalodon, a monster that shouldn't exist. Beneath the thick fog covering the sea's surface, they felt like they faced a choice: confront the fear or flee. But sometimes, fleeing wasn't an option, because that thing had chosen them. I swear, Professor, an old sailor once gripped my hand tightly, his eyes bloodshot from lack of sleep. It didn't just swim by. It looked at me, and I felt my soul being pulled out of my body. Those words echoed within me, reminiscent of military reports about ghosts appearing amidst war. Those stories transcend reality, where truth and superstition blend, like when a soldier recounted seeing a dead comrade standing in the rain, whispering something before vanishing. Only you can decide what is true when you step through what I call the fog of war, where the line between life and death, between human and monster, becomes more fragile than ever. Imagine the feeling of being trapped in the vast ocean. No escape when the calm surface suddenly ripples strangely, and a colossal dark shadow emerges from the abyss, slowly, as if savoring your fear. We screamed, but no one heard. A sailor once recounted, his voice breaking in desperation. It was so big, I thought the whole ship would be swallowed. That helplessness, I believe, can summon entities more horrifying than sharks. But then, the reluctant voice of a man echoed in my memory when I arrived at a remote island to investigate. Dew tried to calm me down, but I traveled thousands of miles to hear this story. Now tell it. The other replied, his voice trembling as if about to cry. I'm sorry, my friend, but it was enormous. I mean, that damn thing, it doesn't belong to this world. That hesitation, I realized, was the sign of a mind traumatized by something beyond endurance. Don't talk about it anymore, the first man snapped. The more you mention it, the more it comes back. I feel like it's still out there somewhere. That superstitious fear is not uncommon in the stories I've heard, like when soldiers swore they saw the ghost of El Diablo in the desert. In 1918, sailors feared not only sharks, but also the German U-boats, a tangible enemy, much more understandable than the colossal phantom I'm about to describe. But it wasn't a U-boat that drew David Stead, a brilliant marine biologist, to Port Stephens, a peaceful town in Australia, but rather chilling reports from local fishermen who had seen something breach the surface, leaving behind unspoken fear. They recounted that while checking lobster traps, a colossal shadow glided beneath their boats, and the sound of the water breaking was like the roar of a monster from hell, making their hearts stop for a moment. Stead, with the patience of a scientist, tried to extract information from the trembling fishermen, but they refused to go back to sea, refused even to recount the tale. Terror had locked their tongues, much like the soldiers I interviewed after seeing ghosts on the battlefield. Finally, one spoke up, his voice raspy. It took the whole trap, wood and steel shattered like paper. I swear it wasn't a shark. It was a devil. That account made Stead shudder, and I, reading it again, also felt a chill. That monster didn't just appear once. It lingered around the town, devouring lobster traps, as if toying with humans, before vanishing into the deep water, leaving behind a haunting that never faded. It was hundreds of feet long, a fisherman shouted when Stead pressed them for a description. Bigger than our boat. Those numbers might be exaggerated, but I've seen similar reports from the military, things science couldn't explain. Stead wondered, late at night in Port Stephens, could it be Megalodon, a phantom from prehistoric times, still surviving in the ocean's darkness? That question hung in the air, like the sound of waves hitting the shore, full of mystery and horror. Stead's book, Sharks and Rays of Australian Seas, recorded this event, shaking the scientific community, because a man like him wouldn't easily believe in fiction, just like when I read a UFO report from a military general. How could a giant shark like Megalodon, believed extinct for millions of years, possibly survive to this day? That question kept me awake many nights, gazing out at the sea, wondering if it was looking back at me. Megalodon's reign began 20 million years ago, but if it still lives, hidden in the abyss, then perhaps, just perhaps, the ocean still holds secrets humanity is not ready to face. I read about Megalodon's supposed extinction in the mid-Pliocene epoch, 3.56 million years ago, an era so distant that bones turned to stone. Has that phantom truly vanished? During its glorious era, Megalodon ruled the ocean like a brutal king, an unstoppable entity, its sharp teeth tearing apart even giant prehistoric whales, staining the ancient seas red with blood. Its appearance resembled today's great white shark, but its size was far greater. A colossal monster to which even the largest great white would be mere small prey, easily swallowed in one terrifying bite. Imagine a wolf trembling before a giant elephant, but this elephant isn't gentle. It's a killing machine with cold eyes, as if carrying a curse from the deepest abyss of the ocean. Scientists estimate female megalodons ranged from 44 to 59 feet long, but there are more chilling theories. Some individuals might have reached 82 feet, a size that makes the human imagination shrink in absolute terror. It hunted whales, large fish, anything sufficient to satisfy its insatiable hunger. A horrifying appetite, as if not just flesh and blood, but the very souls of its prey were drawn into those hideous jaws. Megalodon fossils are found worldwide, but scientists believe environmental changes killed it off, depriving it of its food source, causing this great ruler to fall to nature's merciless hand. Then smaller, more agile sharks like the great white appeared, better adapted, and in the harsh struggle for survival, the giant lost. But I can't stop thinking, is that really the truth? What if it didn't go extinct? He wondered, whispering in the cold room, recalling the case of the coelacanth, a species thought to have vanished millions of years ago, until a living one appeared in 1938, like a slap in the face to modern science. The ocean is a masterful liar, concealing horrifying secrets, and just 10 years after the Port Stevens incident, another story surfaced from the Pacific, making me reopen the Megalodon file with a pounding heart. An experienced man, his voice deep and hoarse, recounted, "I was off the coast of Rangiroa, trying to catch a big marlin, when it appeared." The tremor in his words gave me goosebumps. He paused, his eyes glazed over as if staring into the abyss. Square head, enormous pectoral fins, a few white spots. It was bigger than my boat, and my boat is 40 feet long. His companions, Kiwi fishermen, also saw it, and they whispered among themselves, "A whale shark? No, not like that at all." The bewilderment in their voices reminded me of naval personnel reporting UFOs. Something inexplicable. The man continued, his voice full of astonishment. "I've caught all kinds of sharks. Tiger sharks, nurse sharks, even a mako that leaped 15 feet out of the water. But this one, if a mako jumped over it, it would barely clear its tail fin. I had never seen anything like it," he whispered. And when I realized it wasn't a whale shark, but a carnivorous monster, I was so scared I wanted to scream, but my throat choked up. That primal fear, I'd heard it from soldiers facing skinwalkers in the dark night. The storyteller was Zane Grey, not just a famous Western author, but also an accomplished fisherman who loved the ocean more than the pages he wrote. A credible witness with the sharp eyes of an observer. When not writing or working at his dental practice, Grey sailed around Australia and the South Pacific, indulging his passion for deep-sea fishing. But this time, he had hooked a nightmare. In 1928, aboard the 33-foot steamship SS Manganui off Rangiroa Island in Tahiti, Grey cast his line, eyes fixed on the water, waiting for the legendary marlin. But what surfaced was a colossal dark shadow, blotting out the light. As it breached the surface, Grey stood frozen, heart pounding. A giant shark, its yellowish skin speckled with barnacles, jagged teeth like a killing machine from prehistoric times. He had heard the native Polynesians speak of Magu, Lord of the Abyss, a mythical shark capable of swallowing boats whole, worshipped through bloody sacrificial rites. But now, it was no longer a legend. "Dad, I want to see it again." Lauren, Grey's son, exclaimed excitedly, but Grey only replied, his voice strained. "Son, it was enormous. Bigger than our boat. I've never seen anything like it." Lauren asked innocently, "Was it a whale, Dad? Whales are big too." Grey shook his head, his voice firm. "No, it was a shark, son. I'm sure." That certainty made me shudder. A man like Grey wouldn't easily be mistaken. "Maybe you should write a book about it," Lauren laughed. "How about Wyatt Earp and the monster shark?" Grey smirked, but his eyes remained fixed on the sea. "Good idea. But how would I convince people to believe it?" Suddenly, a shout came from the ship's rail. "Hey, something over there." Grey turned, shouting, "Where? Where?" "Starboard. 500 yards." My heart pounded as I recorded this detail. A second encounter was imminent. Back home, Grey couldn't hide his excitement, recounting it to Lauren with shining eyes. But the 13-year-old just shrugged. "You imagined it, Dad. You're a writer." A logical reaction, but I knew. Sometimes truth is stranger than fiction. "No, It wasn't a whale shark. Gray roared when Lauren expressed doubt, and 2 days later, he took the boy back to those waters. A decision that would change both father and son forever. Lauren later recounted in a 1994 interview, "We saw seabirds flying frantically over a strange patch of yellow water." I shuddered. Reading this line, as such signs often herald the appearance of something terrifying from beneath the sea. The water rippled, the air grew heavy, and Gray whispered to Lauren, "See? It's still there." Silence enveloped them, only the sound of waves lapping like a warning from the abyss. If Megalodon still lives, hiding in the darkness, then how many more secrets await our confrontation? That night, he dreamed of a colossal shadow rising from the water, its milky white eyes staring straight at him, and a roar from its sharp teeth echoed. We never left. A dream or a prophecy? That patch of yellow water? Was it the giant shark swimming just below the surface? It wasn't a whale shark. The confirmation from the once skeptical boy made my heart beat faster. When the interviewer asked about the size, Lauren hesitated, his voice trembling. The tail, it rose out of the water at least 10 feet high. I'd never seen anything like it. A detail that made even me, who has read hundreds of horror reports, shudder. "Did you guys steer the boat closer?" the interviewer asked curiously. Lauren nodded, his eyes still seeming to see that phantom. I looked straight down at it. Its head was as wide as a room, and from head to tail, at least 50 feet. It didn't seem real. The haunting tone in his voice reminded me of soldiers describing ghosts on the battlefield. Right beneath the clear water, amidst the screeching seagulls, the monster appeared. A giant shark beyond all imagination, like something stepping out of the 13-year-old boy's nightmare, turning legend into horrifying reality. In Tales of Tahitian Waters, published in 1931, Zane Grey recorded the second encounter with frightening detail. When the enormous brown tail rose in the ship's wake, I knew instantly it was a monster shark, not something I had ever caught. It was described with a huge round head, at least 10 to 12 feet wide, if not more. Its eyes were not of this world. Could they have been the eyes of a supernatural entity? Gray asserted. This yellow, barnacle-speckled monster was at least 40 or 50 feet long, a phantom from prehistoric times. The numbers matched his son's account, chilling me when I thought about its true size. He emphasized, as if to dispel all doubt, it was not a whale shark. That species is purplish blue-white, brown-spotted, with a narrow head. But this thing, it was a predator, something ancient and brutal. That elimination reminded me of how the military distinguishes UFOs from regular aircraft. So what was it? Gray wondered, his voice haunting. A prehistoric monster from the abyss? Something science hasn't dared to confront? The question hung there, like the waves crashing in the dark night, inviting me to dig deeper. After the Gray's account, the ocean seemed to fall silent. No more reports of giant sharks for decades, as if it hid itself, waiting. Or perhaps those who saw it dared not speak, fearing they'd be called crazy. But then, at the end of the 20th century, in the South Pacific waters near India, US Navy sailors faced another mystery, where military discipline and modern equipment unintentionally recorded the unexplainable. On deck, a young sailor joked, "Water, water, water. Oh look, more water." His voice echoed amidst the monotony of the watch. But I knew, such stillness often foreshadows something terrible. Another replied sarcastically, "Almost like you're in the Navy, huh?" Laughter erupted, but no one suspected that just minutes later, they would be screaming in terror. The young sailor continued, The recruiter said I'd see the world. Well, this is part of the world. All water. But then, his voice trailed off as a dark shadow glided beneath the waves. An older man, the chief, interjected. "Haven't you seen Jaws? You never know what's lurking out there." That half-joking warning reminded me of reports about Bigfoot in military forests. The truth often hides behind laughter. Japanese submarines slammed 2 torpedoes into our side. Chief, a young sailor, quoted Jaws. We'd just delivered the bomb from Tinian Island. The chief chuckled. Well, at least you know the movie. But what's that? A strange sound interrupted. Just a pod of dolphins, a sailor said, looking out at the sea. Whoa, look at them swim. Wish I was that fast. But then, his tone changed. Huh? Something's not right. I've never seen dolphins act like this, he whispered. It's like they're running from something. The panic of animals is a sign I often saw in military files. Danger approaching. Suddenly, a scream pierced the air. Oh my God! What the hell is that? Is that a whale? That scream tore through the space, and I knew they had just seen something not of this world. In the late 90s, in the Indian Ocean, a U.S. Navy petty officer stood on the bridge wing with 2 shipmates, scanning the horizon en route to Goa. A seemingly normal day, until the water erupted. A loud, heavy splash sounded, and the petty officer looked down from the railing, seeing the familiar pod of dolphins breaking the waves. But this time, they weren't playing, but swimming erratically, as if pursued by an invisible phantom. They've been following us for days, he said to his shipmate. Fun to watch. But the smile vanished as a colossal dark shadow rose from the depths, larger, more terrifying than any whale they had ever seen. It's not a whale, the petty officer whispered, hand trembling on the rail. Its head is as wide as the deck, and the tail. My God, it's at least 60 feet long. The terror in his voice reminded me of Lauren Gray's account. The water churned, seagulls screamed overhead, and the monster glided beneath the ship, yellow skin speckled with barnacles, jagged teeth like a killing machine from prehistoric times. A megalodon, or something worse. Shoot it, a sailor yelled, but the chief roared back. No, we don't know what it is. That helplessness reminded me of UFO reports, facing something beyond control. The ship shuddered slightly as the shadow dove, leaving the sea strangely calm, but no one dared breathe deeply. They knew. It was still there, lurking in the abyss, waiting for the next moment. I swear, I saw its eye, a sailor whispered later, his voice trailing off. It wasn't just looking at us. It wanted us to know it was there. That account made me shudder, because I had heard similar things from soldiers encountering demons in the desert. If it was Megalodon, why did it appear near a military vessel? Or was it not just a shark, but something carrying a curse from the ancient ocean? The ocean remains silent, but I know stories like this are just the beginning. How many more sailors have seen it, and how many chose silence, taking their fear to the grave? The graceful dolphins suddenly panicked, breaking formation, swimming erratically as if hunted by an invisible phantom, a sign I knew too well, foretelling the appearance of something terrible. Then, they saw it. From beneath the white-capped waves, a pitch-black shadow rose, charging straight towards the dolphin pod, so large that space itself seemed to shrink under its menacing presence. Initially, the petty officer thought it was a whale, but when the massive dorsal fin broke the surface, rising at least 10 feet high, his heart nearly stopped. No shark on Earth could possess such size, or rather, no shark should exist like that. Must be a whale, he told himself in panic, but his eyes widened as he realized the truth. No, impossible. This is a shark. Maybe an orca attacking the dolphins? But that fin didn't resemble a killer whale's. It was too large, too primitive, like a relic from prehistoric times just risen from the abyss. And then, the distinctive head emerged, a dolphin clamped tightly in its jaws, blood staining the sea surface red. That sight dispelled all doubt, replaced instead by absolute terror as the petty officer faced the bloody truth. I saw that head, and the whale theory vanished, he recounted to me in an interview, his voice still trembling. I grew up in the Florida Keys, seen all kinds of sharks, tiger, bull, everything. But this was a shark, no mistaking it. Its head resembled a tiger shark's, he described. Eyes glazed, it surfaced, and we watched it devour the dolphin. Blood sprayed everywhere, like a brutal ritual from hell. The scene reminded me of reports about cryptid monsters in deep forests. Although the incident wasn't officially logged in the ship's records, likely noted only as an unidentified whale sighting to avoid trouble, the petty officer revealed the ship's sonar had detected the monster, and the result was chilling. Sonar, the technology using sound waves to map underwater, showed an object 25 meters, 82 feet, long from nose to tail, a number that frighteningly matches the maximum estimated size of Megalodon. Making me wonder, is modern technology revealing a legend? Maybe the dolphins interfered with the signal, he said, but his voice trailed off. But 82 feet. It matches Megalodon too well. I can't explain it. That coincidence sent shivers down my spine, as I'd seen similar numbers in classified military files. The petty officer, after 15 years of service, recounted the story in January 2000 to Animal X, his voice haunting. I stood there, watching it disappear beneath the waves, but I felt like it was still there, watching us. Testimony from a serviceman always grabs my attention. Mainstream science refutes it. Megalodon couldn't survive to the present day, not even in the deep Mariana Trench. With modern sonar and satellites, it couldn't hide. But I know the ocean is a master of horrifying secrets. They've been wrong before, he whispered in the night, remembering the coelacanth, a species thought extinct until its appearance in 1938. So why couldn't Megalodon do the same? Another story surfaced in his mind. HMS Challenger in the 1870s dredged up 2 Megalodon teeth from the seabed. A chance discovery, but one that opened a door to unanswered questions. In 1959, paleontologist Vladimir Chernesky claimed those teeth were only 11,000 and 24,000 years old. If true, Megalodon lived alongside early humans under the Stone Age moon, a thought that chilled me to the bone. But the manganese dioxide dating method can be flawed, scientists countered. It makes fossils appear younger than they are. Even so, I couldn't shake the feeling that the truth was being buried beneath the waves. If not Megalodon, then what did they see? An unknown giant shark species? Or has Megalodon evolved, hiding in the ocean's darkness? In 2003, filmmaker David Riggs led an expedition to Bremer Bay, Australia, armed with modern technology to hunt the ancient phantom. And I knew what they found could change everything. Back on the Navy ship, the petty officer yelled, "Shoot it!" But the chief roared back, "No, we don't know what it is." That helplessness reminded me of soldiers facing UFOs, powerless against something beyond understanding. The monster dove. The sea surface returned to calm, but no one dared breathe deeply. "I saw its eye," a sailor whispered. "It was milky white, like a ghost underwater." Those words reminded me of reports about ghosts in the desert. "It didn't just eat the dolphin," the petty officer added, his voice trembling. It looked at us, like it wanted us to know who it was. That intelligence made me wonder, could this be a supernatural entity disguised as a shark? Sonar confirmed 82 feet, the size of Megalodon. But if it wasn't Megalodon, what was it? That night, he dreamed the monster rose, its sharp teeth clamping onto the ship, and a roar from the abyss echoed. We never left. The dream jolted him awake, cold sweat pouring down. I've seen plenty of strange things in the military, the petty officer told me. But this thing, it wasn't from this world. Those words matched hundreds of reports I'd read, from skinwalkers to aliens. The ocean is silent, but I know every wave hides a secret. And those sailors, like the fishermen before them, were just the lucky ones who survived to tell the tale. If Chernesky was right, he whispered, then Megalodon saw our ancestors hunting under the moonlight. So what is it doing to us now? The question made his heart race. David Riggs and his expedition might hold the key. But if they find Megalodon, is humanity ready to face it? Or will we become the next prey? I turned back to the report page from Bremer Bay, where researchers aim to attach electronic tags to great white sharks, devices like airplane black boxes, to unveil the secrets of their migration routes and the hidden world beneath their waves. The tiny tags, attached to the shark's cartilage, promise to reveal depth, temperature, and even mysteries that even I, with decades of supernatural research, had never touched. But this time, they told a horrifying story beyond imagination. A female great white shark, nearly 10 feet long, healthy and formidable, was tagged during the expedition, an apex predator. But its fate became a nightmare that haunted the scientists. 4 months later, the tag washed ashore on an Australian beach, and initially, they thought it had just fallen off. But when the data was downloaded, it wasn't an accident, but the trace of a kill. The data showed the shark swimming at a depth of 900 feet, normally as any other day, until 4 a.m. on Christmas Eve, when it suddenly plunged at terrifying speed, straight down the edge of the continental shelf, stopping at 1,900 feet, as if dragged down by an invisible force. Stranger still, the temperature didn't drop as usual in the cold depths, but soared from 40°C to 70°C. It was inside something, a researcher whispered in the documentary footage, voice trembling, and I knew that was the sign of a brutal predator. Something ate the great white shark, not injured, not natural death, but devoured, along with the tag. What could kill a 10-foot shark? A researcher yelled in the film, voice full of bewilderment. It wasn't a whale, not an orca, but a super predator. That question echoed in my mind, like a roar from the abyss. The tag maintained a temperature of 78°C for 8 days, moving erratically between depths of 300 feet and the surface before being expelled. The predator still lived, still lurked, and I wondered, did it know it was being tracked? The scientists concluded it might have been a larger great white shark, cannibalizing its own kind, a plausible theory. But I, with my experience in supernatural entities, felt something was wrong, like a missing puzzle piece. Great white sharks typically reach a maximum length of 16 feet, but I've read reports of exceptions, like Deep Blue, the 21-foot female seen in 2013 off Guadalupe Island, a giant that stunned the world. Deep Blue isn't unique. The ocean is full of giant phantoms, but could a 21-foot great white really swallow a 10-foot one? It could be a larger great white, a researcher said in the film, voice hesitant. But we're not sure. This data, it's just too strange. That unease reminded me of UFO reports. Science always tries to explain, but sometimes fails. In the end, they admitted, the incident is a mystery. The ocean, deep and unexplored, is like a realm where even I, with hundreds of X-Files, have only scratched the surface. What did it? A great white? Or an ancient phantom like Megalodon still hiding in the abyss? The question hung there, like the waves crashing in the dark night. I've seen great whites, an old sailor told me, his eyes clouded by memory. But this thing, it didn't just eat. It wanted us to be afraid. Those words reminded me of entities like skinwalkers, not just hunting, but spreading terror. The ocean is deeper than the surface of the moon, and I know every wave hides a secret. Could Megalodon be lurking? An ancient king still reigning in the darkness, awaiting the moment to rise? If it was Megalodon, then the great white was just an appetizer. And us? What would we be in its eyes? The thought sent a chill down my spine. That night, he dreamed the ship was swallowed by a colossal shadow, sharp teeth glinting in the water, and a roar from the abyss echoed, "I am still here." The dream jolted him awake, drenched in sweat. The data doesn't lie, a researcher whispered in the film. But it doesn't tell the whole story either. There's something out there, and we don't know what it is. That helplessness reminded me of soldiers facing demons in the desert. What do you think? Does Megalodon really exist, or are we just facing another phantom, one not yet named in the books? The question invites contemplation, but offers no answer. We mentioned them in the USS Indianapolis episode, he continued. But this time, it's clearly a more special kind of shark. Something that sends shivers down your spine just thinking about it. Whatever it is, the ocean remains a mystery. And I bet, somewhere out there, Megalodon or something similar is laughing at us. A haunting conclusion, leaving an echo in the darkness. There was one time we were fin swimming during the day in Kaneohe Bay, Hawaii. A memory I can't forget. He sensed the chill hidden behind those words. It was a Saturday, the person wrote. Everyone else had the day off, but we recon Marines still had to train. No days off, just sweat and seawater. That harshness reminded me of military missions facing the unknown. They were thrown into the water, the mission simple yet brutal. Swim 547 yards out to a buoy, circle it, then return. A standard physical training exercise. But this time, the ocean had other plans. We got in the water, wearing inflated rucksacks, fully clothed, life preservers, he recounted. Pushing the waterproof bag in front, tiring work under the glaring sun. I pictured the scene, sweat mixing with salt water. I had my goggles on my head, but wasn't using them. Water splashing in my face, goggles fogging up. Constantly wiping them was annoying. But then Jeff, the guy swimming ahead of me, suddenly stopped, his face pale as a ghost. That terror made my heart pound. The swim leader approached, yelling, "Jeff, what's wrong?" Jeff turned, eyes wide, whispering, "Dude, look down." Those words were like a curse, pulling him into the abyss of fear. I put my goggles on, looked down, and there, several feet below, hundreds of hammerhead sharks darted about, like a horde of monsters from hell, swimming right beneath our feet. Some were unbelievably large, he whispered. Hundreds of soulless eyes looked up, as if they knew we were there. A sight both majestic and blood-curdling. I'd read reports of similar creatures, and that feeling wasn't unfamiliar. I didn't know what to do, he said. We were helpless, floating on the surface, with an army of sharks below, like a warning from the ocean that we didn't belong here. A safety kayak glided over, paddled by the staff sergeant, who yelled, "What's going on, guys? Why aren't you swimming?" His voice was chillingly calm, as if nothing was unusual. We yelled back. The narrator recounted, "Staff Sergeant, there are hundreds of sharks under us." But he just shrugged. "Yeah, it's their mating season. They won't bother you. Keep swimming." The order was cold, like a bullet fired into their fear. "Nobody told us beforehand," he whispered. "Maybe they knew we'd refuse to get in the water if we knew the truth. But it was too late now. We had to swim through that hell." That callousness reminded me of missions where risks were concealed. We kept swimming, each kick of the fins like a prayer, hoping not to be dragged down by sharp teeth. But strangely, they left us alone. Luck? Or were they just toying with their prey? Jeff later got a Hawaiian-style hammerhead shark tattooed on his shoulder. He chuckled softly. We teased him that it looked like, well, a penis. But that was his way of dealing with the fear. Dark humor, something I often saw in survivors of horror. Hundreds of hammerheads. A natural phenomenon or a supernatural sign? Could something larger be controlling them from the darkness? I've heard soldiers talk about dark shapes underwater. No one dared look long, but everyone felt it, like a lurking entity. Those words were recorded about undersea creatures. If it was mating season, why didn't they attack? Or were they restrained by something more terrifying, hidden beneath the waves? The ocean never tells all its secrets. They survived, but I bet something bigger is waiting out there. Those words reminded me of the sonar report about Megalodon. We talked about them in the USS Indianapolis episode, but this time in Kaneohe Bay, it's a different story. An experience that chills you to the bone when you recall it. In the military, I didn't encounter many sharks. He laughed. I did a lot of fin swimming as a recon Marine, often at night. The darkness hides everything, and maybe that's what saved me. But that time in Hawaii, I saw them. Hundreds of hammerheads, like an army from the abyss. I don't know how I survived. My buddies used to talk about the dark shapes underwater. No one dared look long, but everyone felt it, like a spirit lurking in the night. Those words match reports about creatures I've read. Did I ever swim past something bigger without knowing? Or did it see me, but decide to spare my life? Anyway, thanks for watching. Thank you, channel members, supporters, and may God be with you, whatever you're facing. See you in the next episode. An emotional farewell.